Can someone become funny if they work at it?
I think someone can definitely hone their skills to be, to be funny. Um, but I think overall though, there is just like something natural about it. I'm one of five boys, and all my brothers are pretty funny. But my one brother Mark in particular, when he's in conversation, especially with a group of people, he comes up with stuff like it's almost like a second or two right before, like it's in my mind and then it's already out of his mouth. Like so he's already there, and
Right.
he's not doing this for a living. Um, so I think there are people that just have it and they can hone it. But then
So
I think
yeah,
what's it?
yeah, yeah. No, I think that's a very important point you made. I think that's absolutely correct. I think timing is a key element. I think sharpness, mental acuity. Saying if you waited even 2 seconds after that happened and then he delivered the same joke, it just wouldn't be funny.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Timing is a big thing, and even like recently, I did a show at the Williams Center in Rutherford, New Jersey. They had a what they call the Icarus Festival. So it's uh, like podcasters, and there were panels and stuff. And they had a comedy night on Friday night that Jimmy Dore
Mm,
headlined, and I got to open, so I got to host, and we had close to like 500 people. It was a great theater show, and I did great. It went so well. My
great.
sets went so well.
Awesome.
I was so friggin' happy. Like everything was on. Anything that happened, I was able to call it out. I was just there perfectly. And then the next night, another event at the same at the same fucking theater. Um, I was not. I was not there. I
Huh.
was I was I was slow.
Huh.
I forgot stuff I was going to say. I didn't prepare well enough. And instead of spending 15 or 20 minutes on stage killing, I spent 15 20 minutes bombing.
Mm,
And same guy, same brain, but two different different atmospheres. And I was looking for the second show where I bombed. I was looking for naturally anything else I could blame it on. Could I blame the air conditioning went out, which sucked. We had a problem with the microphone that sucked. I had a little bit of a cotton mouth. I don't know why I had that, but ultimately, it's like no, I have to take. I sucked, and I'll try to learn from it and be more on point and
well,
in the
it's the only
moment
thing you
next
can
time.
do, man. You got to
That's all I can
forgive
do.
yourself when
Yeah.
this happens. You just have to keep going, and you can't let these things deter you.
And the more
If
the
you
more you do it, and P, I was just gonna say, and the more you
yeah,
do it, the easier it is for you to forgive yourself. Because there were times where, especially starting out earlier, like, if you're only going to like say a few mics a week and you go to that second mic that week and you bomb and it's terrible, you carry that shame with you for so long. Whereas when you keep doing it, and you keep going, you're able to, I think, bounce back a lot more easily, thankfully.
yeah, I think it's the same way with teaching too. If you teach a lot of classes, and then I would always feel terrible if I didn't teach a good class, and then I was thinking, oh, geez, the students are maybe more regularly the students' parents. They didn't get their money's they didn't get their money's worth. So if you took somebody who is just really not funny by whatever objective standard, and you just fed them good jokes, do you think that and maybe I guess the variable there would be could they act? Would they get an audience laughing?
Uh, I think it depends on a lot of factors. Definitely what the audience is, and also what that delivery is like. Like I would say for advice, to anybody who's looking to try comedy for the first time, I would say, for one, you just have to do it. You have to bite the bullet and like try to
Yeah,
get up wherever you can, if it's at an open mic or whatnot. And I would say just doing something as simple as coming up with like one liners. Like if you can come up with five one liners, like setup, punchline, and where it's kind of, nothing too fancy, you're not going wild. Sort of like use that as a springboard. So even if you get up there and you're only up there for a minute, but you're able to get out these, five jokes, these proto jokes or whatever you want to call them. I think that can help people get over the hump. And I would say either doing that or having a kind of like a simple story that you want to tell that has like a beginning, middle, and end. uh, and figuring that out before getting up on stage can help you, even if you're not necessarily the funniest person.
Yeah, and I'd add to that, not that I know anything about comedy, but if it wasn't recorded, it would be easier because it wouldn't there'd be no record of it, so there'd be less to
Yeah.
lose.
Yeah, what 100%. It took me a long time even to start doing like podcasts, because I was like, here I am for most of my career. I've been all about, honing stuff and
Yeah.
cutting and, editing. And especially when you're doing like sketch comedy, ultimately, whatever happens in the editing room, that's what goes out. And then here, I am hosting podcasts or being on podcasts where the amount of ums and I'm probably upsetting a lot of your freaking your fans right now, like, shut this guy up.
No, they don't care. Everybody's
That and
cool.
that, and then also just stupid takes. But yeah, I think being willing to put yourself out there and fail is a huge part of comedy. And I do wonder how many people are reluctant to even give it a shot, on the off chance, like, oh, I don't want this getting out. If I say something, if I
Y
say the
y
wrong thing or I'm not happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. There's a friend of mine who moves at high level, actually a bunch of them, and in the comedy spaces, and I was asking them. Actually, I don't think one will mind me saying so, but Brian Callen was one, and um, I said, do people expect you to be funny all the time? Like when you go out to dinner, are you? So, what's been your experience of that? Do people just expect you to be funny?
Uh, well, since I live like in the suburbs, and my wife is very friendly, I end up meeting a lot of couples, and they all want to know, like, oh, obviously, hey, what do you do? What do you do for a living? And uh, my wife has to, tell them, like, well, he's a comedian, and they never think that I'm a comedian because I'm usually pretty quiet. I
Interesting.
enjoy listening a lot more to people, especially quote unquote regular people,
Yeah.
because I get so much out performing, whether it's I'm on stage in front of a camera, or even the messing around on Twitter. I get my ideas out in so many different ways, where I don't have that personal need to be on all the time. Like if you take somebody like a Robin Williams, who seemed to have needed to be on all the
Mm.
time, to the point where, I mean, I was a huge fan of his as an actor, but there'd be times I would see him on like a talk show, and I'd be like, "Oh God, just stop! Just stop for a minute. Take a breath." Um, but and then with the other risk is, I tell everyone, I tell people, it's like, in a way, I kind of don't want them to check out my comedy, because
Mm.
it's like, if we're getting along and you like me now, let's just keep it that way. Like don't check out my comedy, and or my opinions about things and stuff, because we're getting along right now.
Does it matter to you that your friends laugh at your jokes? Like, could you be friends with someone who just didn't laugh at any of your jokes, didn't share your sense of humor?
Everybody that I'm friends with, we laugh, we joke around, and
So that's
that's
it.
actually.
Like, yeah, is this like a necessary condition for you of a friendship, or it just turns out that your friends laugh at your jokes and you laugh at their jokes?
I think it might just end up that way. Um, I, I have friends of mine too, who I've known either since college or high school, and getting together and continue and still laughing together after all these years. It feels a lot like time travel, in a way. Like we
Yeah,
kind of feel like we're
totally.
still the young guys hanging out, and then we look in the mirror like, oh, we're older dudes now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the same way. I'm closing on 58. I think it's the same way when you get older, and it's the vivid time travel. What was that? The older I get, the better I was. The older I get, the better the kind of the more vividly I relive the past in some senses.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm wondering too now, because I'm a dad. I know you're a father as well.
Yeah,
It's sort of, there was a time where, for the most part, dads didn't leave much behind, in like publicly. Not a lot
yeah,
of. How many dads wrote books? How many dads
yeah.
were on camera, were expressing their ideas, or how many dads have tweets, and it's something where, especially my kids are younger, I do wonder, if it gets to the point where, when they're older and they're looking back at stuff that I've made, I wonder what that's going to be like for them. It's like discovering who their dad is, the public, persona of their dad.
Thank you for watching. Everything we do is under the umbrella of the National Progress Alliance, nationalprogressalliance.org. It's a nonprofit, independent 501c3. Your generous donations keep us going and keep fueling content like this. So please help us out. Make a donation. We very much appreciate it. Thank you.